everybody. It's Amanda from Create Your Future. We are live today. I'm not sure what's up with this color. I'm not sure. Maybe I should turn the light off. Maybe that might actually help. Give me one sec. I'll turn the light off, see if that works better. Hold on. Okay. Let's try that. Is that better? Actually, that is better. Okay. So I'm not sure if that's better. Let me turn the light back on. You think I would have done this first, but I haven't. Anyways, guys, hi, welcome to the YouTube Live. I'm reading questions off of the Patreon group. I really hope that all of you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful day and that you guys are creating wonderful stuff. Hi, Anna. You're awesome. I recognize your name from posting comments on the YouTube channel. Always so inspiring to see. So yeah, guys, so I'm reading questions off the Patreon. If you would like to ask me, Amanda, a question, I will put the Patreon link in here. Hello from Greece. I want to go to Greece so bad. I want to leave Canada so bad. I'm going to go to Greece. I'm going to go everywhere I can. So there's the link if you would like to ask me a question. So yeah, just before I dive into the questions, guys, we are having a contest when we reach 100,000 subscribers, which I'm intending now we're going to do soon. Yeah, we're actually giving away 3 free coaching sessions with a coach of your choice to 3 different people. And yeah, so that's really, really, really exciting. All you need to do to enter is to comment on our YouTube videos of what you've created using the law of attraction to inspire and give others hope. And please post no matter how small you think it is, because, you know, something that may have been small to you to manifest, it may not be a big deal. It may be huge to somebody else. So, you know, somebody reading it that, you know, you've manifested that, that's going to give them hope and possibly even act as a sign for them to go, yes, and have them continue on. So it's about helping and supporting each other. Hello, Jessica. Hello, Wilson, Tammy, Cherise. Hello, everybody. So great to see you here. So yeah, and Gina, and also share and subscribe. And that's how we enter into the contest. So we just pick 3 random people that have commented what they've actually manifested. It doesn't have to be anything big or anything. It's just, you know, it's just sharing your story and giving other people hope. So let's dive straight into the Patreon questions. So we've got Rachel's question. And yes, Rachel, I remember you. I remember you very well. How are you doing? I miss you so much. I was so happy when I saw your name. So Rachel says, hi, Amanda, longtime subscriber, as you remember. Yes, I do remember. When I first discovered the law of attraction, law of assumption, and I have loved working with some of your amazing coaches. Oh, thank you. Yeah, you've been with us you've been around for a while. I'm just so excited to hear from you. So I love the diversity of their approaches and finally realized that I should stop trying and just relax and enjoy being me. So here's the thing. If you find yourself unable to imagine a loving, attentive version of your specific person, since that's the foundation of seeing your assumptions, belief reflected back to you in your physical reality, does that mean it's not possible? No, absolutely not. Nothing has any meaning. Everything is empty and meaningless. So it doesn't matter if you don't feel good thinking about it. The question is what makes you not feel good? What thoughts are you having that don't make you feel good? Okay, so your thoughts create your emotions. Okay, so what ends up happening is like, okay, for instance, you know, I don't even know what it was. I was like meeting somebody to deal with something, and I just had this bad feeling, the bad feeling. And then sure enough, you know, it turned out to be a disaster, right? It was like, somebody was going to do something for me or whatever. And it just turned out to be a complete disaster. And I was like, well, how did I create that? And I went back and I thought, oh, you know what? I had this bad feeling about this whole time. And it was because of my previous experiences, you know, of dealing with the nature of these things that I was like, okay, it never works out. I always get ripped off. And then sure enough, those thoughts created that bad feeling, but I wasn't aware of it. You know, like I was just aware of the bad feeling. And then once it all manifested and played out, you know, instead of, you know, reacting to it, I always sit back and go, okay, well, how did I create this? Like, you know, like where did I kind of, you know, I'd like to know where I've created things. And then so oh, that bad feeling I had. Okay, that makes sense. Well, why did I have that bad feeling? And then sure enough, with how that situation played out, I went, oh, okay, well, because, I had a bad experience and now I don't trust people in that area. So then it was like, oh, that's why I had the bad feeling. So then my intentions would be, I intend to trust people in that area, da, 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 da. Okay. So that's the one part of it. Find out where that feeling is coming from. The second thing to answer your question. So if you find yourself unable to imagine a loving, attentive version of your specific person. Okay. So you guys have heard me say this a billion times. You actually don't need to believe your intentions. The thing you do need to believe is that your thoughts create. Okay. You can't have any doubt in yourself as a creator. Okay. So you want to build that foundation. Okay. Because if you've got that loomingness of doubt or worry or any sort of concern it's not going to happen, those are still thoughts that are, going around in your head. Those need to be countered. Okay. So even disbelieving in the law of attraction is going to be a block. Okay. So for instance, when I'm creating something that I really, really want, okay, so a relationship, okay, I will actually just think back to any time that I've had an experience with everyone as you pushed out, okay? So like my famous fried chicken story. I mean, for me, okay, with Andrew bringing that fried chicken, like it wasn't anything to do with our relationship at all. It was just that I intended that I would get fried chicken and he was the one that ended up bringing it. And I was like, oh, what? I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, if he's can, pick up my thoughts and bring me fried chicken, well, he's a goner. He's going to marry me for sure. Okay. So it's about creating those experiences in your reality and using that as, as your way to battle your resistance, your doubt, or your negative feeling. Okay. But I would dive more into what that negative feeling is. And, what I would also say is, when you have a negative feeling, when you're trying to imagine or to do your intentions, is to say, this negative feeling means that my blocks and resistance are being released and I am going to get what I want. Always make everything that you do mean you're going to get what you want, because everything is empty and meaningless until you actually give it meaning. Okay. So if imagination, like I personally don't visualize anything, I just do intentions, because how our subconscious mind works is it only sees in pictures. So if I say to you guys, don't think of a blue duck, you just thought of a duck. Okay, maybe it was purple, maybe it had yellow boots, a yellow bill, you thought of a duck, okay? And so because your brain, your subconscious mind only sees in pictures. So every single word that you say, your subconscious mind will put it into a picture. That's why we say never use negatives, because you can't picture the word not. So if you say, I don't want to be single, what you're essentially creating a picture, a visualization in your subconscious mind of being single, because you can't picture the word not. Okay. So you always want to be specific on what, or like you always want to focus on what you want, right? So I intend to be in a relationship, or I'm going to be married, or, so you want to focus on, rather than not being single, marriage, right? So again, if visualization isn't working for you, then go with intentions. But the biggest thing here is talk yourself out of that feeling, that you talk yourself out of being able to, like, don't worry about not being able to visualize it. Do the intentions, but do the intentions from the platform of being in the zone of, I'm a creator and yeah, I can have whatever I want. Okay. Because even when you're just focusing on what you want, and I've done this many, many times, and this is how I first learned it, was we basically got a list. They said, make a list of all your complaints. Okay. So I was like, okay. So I made a list of all my complaints. One of my biggest complaints was paying for parking. Like, ugh. And I lived in the city. So like it was everywhere. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever been to Vancouver, like good luck finding free parking, right? Well, yeah. So then they said, make a list of your complaints. So one of my biggest complaints was always paying for parking. And they said, okay, now take that one complaint and change it to what you want. Okay. And then just focus on that every time you think of parking. So I was like, okay, I always get free parking. I always get free parking. I stopped complaining to my friends and my family. And every time I paid for parking, I happily paid, saying next time it's going to be free. I always get free parking, and then all of a sudden what started, and I didn't honestly believe it at all. I just kept repeating it. I wouldn't let myself, get upset or go down the paying for parking road. And I just kept, every time it bothered me, just reaffirming I was going to get free parking. And I honestly didn't even believe it. And I didn't really doubt that it was going to work. I was just like, I'm going to put this to the test and be diligent about it. And I was. And then sure enough, all of a sudden, parking meters, I would find that they had money on them still, or people would give me the ticket in the parkade, or I would find just on the other side street, there was actually like 2 free spots, right? So it's about, focusing on what you want and persisting. Okay. Even when you don't feel like you can do it, or you don't feel like it's going to work, it is working. It's always working, right? The one thing, right, when people want to take a break from manifesting something, the one thing that I think is very important is to realize that when you're thinking, look at it like you're actually talking to another person. Okay. So if you do want to take a break from manifesting someone or something, that's all fine. But just remember, you want to leave your story where you want it to be. Okay. So you don't want to go, oh, you know what? I'm so sick of this. I just give up. I don't want him anymore. And that's it. And then I'm taking a break. You don't want to leave it there. You want to leave it with, no, you know what? This is all going to work out and this is going to happen. I'm going to take a break. And once I take a break, these are the changes that are going to happen. Okay. So you always want to keep using the law of assumption to keep creating, even if you're going to take a break from manifesting. And then you say, okay, no, you know what? I intend that I can imagine a loving relationship with my SP. Like, it's really that easy. And if you keep reaffirming that you can do that, then you are going to actually be able to do that. But intentions alone and having faith in being a creator will also get you there as well. Okay. So if everything begins in the imagination, okay, so we went through that. So I've done so much inner work over the past 6 months. I feel as if I turned every core belief over and flipped it to the positive, to the point that I am personally able to look at myself in the mirror and know that I love myself. Oh, I love that. Which leaves my negative assumptions about him specifically. Yes, the story about him needs to change as well. It's more than just one person. There's 3 items here. There's you, there's him, and then there's your beliefs about relationships. So I know I'm worthy of love, attention, and affection, and fully committed relationship. I can easily imagine this with someone I've never met. I realize I have deep resentment around things he's done, fully knowing I've created them. But when I tell myself to let it go, it feels like it's letting go is not honoring my own feelings and my own sense of self-respect. Okay, so there's the story. Okay, so we let go because we're forgiving ourselves. Okay. So how do you want to honor your own feelings and your own sense of self-respect? It's okay to intend an apology. It's okay to say, look, you know what? I intend that he apologizes for everything that he's done. So forgiving him and letting it go isn't always just about ignoring it and pretending it didn't happen. I guarantee, yeah, I've created people to do some really mean things to me, and I've created them to do it. But does that mean that I've just been like, oh, you know what, I'm going to forget about it? Sometimes I have, but sometimes I've made it a point to intend an apology and, a reconciliation of the relationship in the 3D where, we've sat down and I've created where, they're going to have a chat with me and apologize for it all. So you can do that as well. So I guess my question is letting go, is it like you're just letting it go and pretending it didn't happen? Or, like, what's bothering you about that is the biggest question, right? Because you're the creator of your reality. You can manifest an apology or you can manifest not an apology, right? So, yeah. Thank you, Water Mind Flex 89. I have a hard time saying specific. I did it. It's so funny, I tell you. So it's she says here, it's an odd thing to have that having rebuilt my self-concept, my resentment towards my SP has grown to the point where I'm ready to let him go. But then I remember I'm God, so I should be able to turn this around just because. I seem to be caught within a loop. I can manifest him, so I should be able to manifest him. But when in the course of creating the new story, my new self-concept won't let me in. Letting go and forgetting it feels like giving him a pass. Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering what you were thinking there before. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a pass. Basically, right, you would create the story like, look at, you know what, I'm the prize. He knows that. He's going to do everything not to lose me because he knows that I am the prize in his life. Like that's still self-concept work, but it involves him, and you were changing the story about him. Okay. So no, letting go and forgetting is never giving people a pass. It's not about being a doormat, right? I tell myself to let go and hear this very loud no from within. I don't know that this loop has helped me detach from him greatly, but it's not a good feeling of detachment or knowing he's mine. It's knowing that I deserve better and interested in knowing your insight about letting go of the stubbornness to manifest someone you may be that you maybe shouldn't for your own well-being. Well, I mean, that's what it comes down to, Rachel, right? Is always a question of, is this worth it? And is it not worth it? Like, is it something that you can get past? Okay. So the one thing about the free pass thing, and I totally get it. It's so funny. Everyone is you pushed out because this just happened. Okay. So I get where you're coming from. So when people treat us badly, okay, and we don't feel good, and then we don't want to forgive them and just forget about it and move on because we've created it. No, you don't need to do that. Nobody's saying to do that. I know that's sort of like what the law of attraction world implies, but it doesn't have to be like that. And I've just done this recently. So, if you're not being treated nicely because you're creating the person not to treat you nicely, that's totally fine. Okay, you've created it. Now you can actually create them to make it up to you and to apologize and to realize what they've done wrong. So what you need to do is to shift gears and to focus on to the story about him and what he's going to do to make it up to you. Okay. So I intend that he takes responsibility for his actions. I intend that he realizes that he hurt me. I intend that he realizes that I'm a prize and he worships the ground I walk on. So we really need to change the story about him. And the more you focus on the person you want him to be, that resentment is going to just start to just flow right off. Okay. Because your resentment is coming from the thoughts of all these bad things that he did. And now you're struggling with, well, should I let this go and just forget it? Well, no, if you don't want to, then don't. But what do you want? Okay. You want an apology. You want him to make it up to you. You want him to acknowledge his bad behavior and say that he's never going to do it again. Great. Those are all your intentions right there. Does that make sense? So I would start with that. So what we're looking at here is we're struggling with, the actual process of law of attraction, which I totally get. That's why I started this channel, because I found a lot of information out there that just, and I was like, can't be this hard. And it isn't. It's about taking your focus onto what do you need him to do to make you feel better about the situation. Okay. And that's the action you can take through intentions and thoughts. Okay. So yeah, it's not about, forgiving them and being a doormat. Never. Oh, you're awesome, Rachel. Good to see you. Oh, hello, everybody. Yeah. Oh, hello. Yes, persistence is key. Hi, guys. I'm just looking at all of the nice comments. Oh, the chicken story, Allie. I know it's. I tell that story so much. But, it's those little things, that we do and we create that, we realize that we are the creators of our reality. And, it's just those little tiny things, and I think they're so incredibly important. Okay, so let's take a look here. Okay, next one. We've got Lisa's question. Hi, Amanda, and Create Your Future team. Hope you're all well. Thank you. We are. My question is, I'd like to manifest a new home. Oh my goodness, I just did that. I am deeply unhappy where I live, and I have a situation that's been going on for years. It's really personal. It makes me depressed. I feel trapped and I'm living in anxiety. I'm not financially in a position to move, and I'm also trying to manifest passing a driver's test just to get away for even a few hours. How do I manifest a new home and inner peace for me and my kids? Thank you. Okay, Lisa, I intend all this turns around for you and you start feeling better. Like I honestly do. And Rachel, I intend that you have the biggest breakthrough from me answering your question as well. So yeah, I was in your situation. I wasn't happy where I was living before I manifested my home. So the thing is, right, is, what we want to start doing is focusing on what we want to create. Okay. So we have to start saying that we feel good and we feel like we're living in a state of power, that we're feeling powerful every day. Okay. So when you're depressed, okay, we're basically looking at the past and our past actions. Okay. So if we're just looking at our past blunders, yeah, we're not going to feel good about ourselves, and we're also just going to recreate them. Now, if we have anxiety, what we're doing is we're worrying about the future, and we're worrying most likely about events that haven't happened yet. Okay. Like it's so common. Like people, I know one time I was going to a restaurant and I really wanted to go, and I'm like, it's probably going to be busy. Like, I was already angry and anxious before I even got there and knew the situation. And of course, being a creator, what happened when I got there? It was busy and packed, right? So, what we want to do is you want to start your day off with saying how happy and grateful you are for some things in your life. You want to start to shift that and then start focusing on how you're going to fix this. Okay. So basically, you say, I'm going to pass my driver's test. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to pass my driver's test. I am in a financial position to be able to move. Things always go my way. You can intend grants. You can intend, financial help from other areas. Okay. One big thing here, right, is basically what you're saying is, I feel trapped and I'm not in a position to move, but I'm not in a position to move because financially I don't have the money. So we're basically saying that money is dependent on you moving, but that doesn't have to be the case. So you can say, well, yeah, I'm not in a position, like I don't have the money, but I intend to move. And I intend to move, not but. So and is always very important. So when you say, well, yeah, sure, I'm broke and I want to move. Okay. So now you've opened it up to go, well, those are two separate things. So you don't necessarily need money to move. Maybe there's going to be a grant. Maybe someone will help you. Maybe there'll be, something that comes along. Maybe your finances will change. So as long as we're reaffirming that you don't have the money to move, then that's never going to change. Do you get what I'm saying? So let's start, intending that you do have the money to move. That money flows to you from all areas, right? And that sort of thing. So also, like, I get it that you're not happy where you live. And so it's about not focusing on that. So every time, something in your reality that you're not happy at home with, you just reaffirm what makes you happy. So, whatever the case is. So for instance, I don't know specifically what the situation is, but let's just say that I'm unhappy with the person I'm living with. So, and then they say something to me, I may intend that they go out for a few hours so I get peace, right? And then I would go back to focusing on, you know what, I have more than enough money. I'm going to move. It's going to happen before the end of this month. I know I'm a creator. I know my thoughts create, right? So you're going to have to start chiseling away and pick what's best, like the first one to work on for you, right? So but the biggest thing is your self-concept, because we're going to need to get you out of the depression and the anxiety. Okay. So it's about, I feel good. I'm happy. I love myself. I feel good with my past, mistakes, and everyone's forgiven me for them and whatnot, or whatever the depression's coming from. Okay. So I intently said that helps you massively. What do we've got here? Let's see what else, what comments do we have? Hello. Oh, you guys are amazing. Oh, look at all the hearts and everything. Yes, it's a sign for all of you guys. Everything's happening. Everything's happening, and it's happening now. So we've got Black Sphinx question. Hello again, Amanda. Hello. Thanks for answering my last question. You're welcome. As in regard to the third party, what I want the most is for the third party just to stay away from my SP because she's actually toxic to him. And I intend that he sees that and he decides that she is toxic for him and she says bye-bye. Of course, I would create a better story, that basically he wants you and only you. I would focus on that. I mean, rather than hating the third party, it's really nothing to do with her. She's just a manifestation of any insecurities, or I'm not good enough, or even a manifestation of he doesn't want to be with me, right? Or manifestation of I can never get what I want, right? So whatever the case is, you would change those two. I always get what I want. He wants me and only me. She's moved on, right? The reason is what we always want to wish well on other people is because we're basically indirectly wishing it on ourselves, because we're all one, okay? So you're the only one in your reality. Okay. And when your thoughts go out and whatever you focus on may happen to you or somebody else or anybody, is sometimes if there's a block, let's say I intend for, Joe to get married, but then I've got a block with Joe, then somebody else may get married. Okay. So always focus on things that are good and that you would wish on yourself as well for others. Okay. So what I've been struggling with the most with that, even though it's over, I believe he actually blocked her and isn't on speaking terms. That is, even though I have forgiven him in my mind, and to myself, I still get annoyed thinking this isn't some amazing pure-hearted love story where after all this time we've been quarantined, he fancies the both of us and still chooses to pursue her, and everybody knows that around us. Okay. It just puts a bad taste in my mouth knowing that's even our history. Together now. I guess in my world, if we were to explain our history, it would be a tender, like, for example, how Matthew McConaughey found his wife and has been devoted to her and claims he has never fancied another woman after. They've been together now for 14 plus years. I still get tripped up on the feeling that the third party and others will probably think my SP must have been so in love with her and not with me in that time that I came back into his life. Like, the obvious would be others thinking, wow, he must really love the third party if he keeps going back to her and not me, when I'm right here with him living together practically. Okay, that was a little rant. Yeah, it was. That's okay. I get it. Okay, so that was a little rant that he went on too long, but hopefully anyone hearing this can understand the nuisance of this particular situation. I don't hear much about. No, I get it. Yeah, it is definitely a nuisance situation. Basically, I just really want him to say that he never loved her and to tell others the same too, and his foolishness and my own too for unconsciously creating it. Right. He would say to me how he usually fallen for toxic women and he must be a masochist for doing that to himself. And yet that I'm one of the two girlfriends that he was never emotionally, that were never emotionally abusive to him. So I guess I've taken that to mean that he isn't capable of falling in love with me because of that love gurus may say about to be a challenge to a man by saying no to him at times and etc., which makes me think if I affirm for a committed relationship, it hasn't manifested as of yet, to be honest. Okay, so the story about him needs to change. Like, I mean, yeah, if he's actually said to you, look at, I fall for toxic women, I can see how that will make the whole thing harder to, change the story. So when people tell us things, okay, so we have our own perception of them. Okay. For instance, right, if I get into an argument with somebody, let's say someone close to me, chances are a lot of things are going to be said. And depending on how angry people are, maybe things that we don't mean are said. But that's what I always do is when I get into an argument with somebody and they say some things that really hurt me, I automatically think, no, you know what? They just said it because they were angry. They didn't mean it. Okay. And then as soon as I think that, they shift into, oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I said those things, but I didn't mean it. I was angry. And it's like, okay. So it's about changing your view. So everyone's view pushed out, so you can change the view of others. Okay. So for instance, you can revise the whole situation, like, nothing ever happened, or nobody even remembers it, or nobody even realizes it, or, basically that there wasn't a relationship. Your thoughts can go back in time. Let me tell you a story. And I'm not sure if you can, apply that to your situation, but I'm gonna tell you a story and this is sort of what I'm talking about. And so I remember one day I was at a networking event, okay, and me and Andrew were just newly dating. And all of a sudden, he was talking to this woman, okay, and she basically had him like in a corner and he wasn't moving anywhere. And they were really close and she was this blonde and he was laughing and smiling. And I'm like, oh, they're having a great time. I started getting a bit jealous. I was like, what's going on there? So I was like lingering around the room, kind of like side-eyeing it, right? Like just absolutely livid, okay? Like in my own head, I was mad. I was like, how dare he? I can't believe this. Like he's making me look like a fool at this networking event, da-da-da-da-da. So then finally I was like, okay, Amanda, no, you're a creator. Keep cool. You know what? Grab yourself a glass of wine, maybe a few cheese and crackers. You schmooze on over there and introduce yourself, right? So I walked up there and the first thing I did was took some food off of Andrew's plate, right? And I realized at that time that they were actually talking business and she was trying to sell him something and he was not actually having it. And as soon as I came, he was like, okay, great, you guys talk. He introduced us and he ran. So my point is but before I had all the information, I was creating that was, this whole entire, flirting exchange. And, from my point of view, they were flirting and And then when I actually walked up and engaged in the conversation, I quickly realized that wasn't the case, right? So your thoughts can change history. Okay. Now, let's say I hadn't changed my thoughts and I stayed, angry and jealous or whatever, right? There would be a chance that there would be a possibility that I would have walked up and run into them flirting, like, because that's what I was creating and that's what I was focused on. But because I shifted gears and said, no, 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 that can't be. I'm going to go up there and, show them, and I'm the prize here, and then so my point is revise the past story, revise what you want people to think, revise what that relationship even was. Okay. So just revise that whole thing. Okay. And then you can even, you can revise it so everybody remembers it the way that you want it remembered. Okay. Because time changes thoughts, right? Your thoughts change thoughts. Okay. Your thoughts will change everybody's thoughts because nobody's outside of you. Everybody's playing the role that you're assigning to them in here through your thoughts and your assumptions and your feelings. Okay. So you need to intend that this guy is like completely over his baggage and ready to be in a relationship. Okay, so I find story after story over a period of time, doesn't that negate the overall desire of being able to get the result? Well, I mean, no, you're always constantly getting results. Everything in your reality is a result of your thoughts right now. It's all working. It's just a matter of disciplining your thoughts and persisting and focusing, like laser focus on what you want. I just created some really great things in this last week. And you know what? It nearly hurt my head, but and I'll tell you why, because I was not going to go for any, 5 days. Okay. I wanted things done and I wanted things done now. Okay. So all I did every time I thought about the situation is I would not let myself go down the road of those thoughts that gave me the feeling of anger, resentment, anything. I went straight to what I wanted, I made myself nuts almost, but I created the breakthrough and I got it done in record time. So it's about creating what you want. Keep focusing on it. Don't let any other thoughts. Don't question. Don't let any other thoughts come in. Focus on what you want. Get clear on what you want, and then keep focusing on what you want. The biggest thing is creating stories that you believe to revise the situation. Okay. So for instance, right, if I was to say, okay, for instance, people say something like angry in an argument. Okay. So I could personally say, okay, well, you know what? They meant it, so they've got to apologize. To me, that's not going to manifest very good because I'm like, nah, you know what? They meant it, so they're not going to apologize. But if I say, okay, they didn't mean it, they were just angry, that's a solid belief for me. So create your believable beliefs in your relationship to do your revision, okay? Because you've got to stick to your story, if that makes sense, okay? So as if I have about 100 different stories and I only found about 20 so far over a course of 7 years, do the other 80 negate what I want if I don't clear it up? Well, no, I mean, everything is constantly, so it depends what the stories are. Okay, so you're saying stories. So how creation works is it's ever flowing. Okay, so it's ever flowing. Okay, so today I can create, Gerry being nice to me. And then tomorrow I can create him with a third party. And then the next day I can create him being nice to me. It's an ever flowing thing. It depends on the story. So you'll see the stories come up, right? So for instance, what's one story that's showing up in your reality that you don't like right now? So your reality is going to tell you what stories are in play. Maybe that helps. Okay. Because actually I don't quite understand what you mean about the stories. So everything, all the stories that are actually manifested, you'll see them in your 3D reality. So obviously, if he said to you that he's attracted to toxic women, then that's a story that's obviously manifested and at play. And if you don't like it, then you take a look at it and you say, no, I intend he's over his baggage and he only is with, me, actually. I would say, yourself. So take a look at that. But I wouldn't worry about your previous stories. I would just worry about picking your current story that you want to create, right? Picking your current revision and just focusing on that. Okay. And then if anything shows up in your reality that you don't like, then take it and go, nope, I'm changing that. Nope, I'm changing that. Or yeah, I love it. I'm keeping it. Right. So you get to, as one of my old clients said, it's about throwing back the fishies. You keep that fish, you throw back that fish. Right. So you get to choose just because you've said it once, for instance, I created that my boyfriend always cooks me dinner, but I created that back in a previous relationship. And that boyfriend actually never cooked me breakfast. Actually, it was breakfast. He never actually cooked me breakfast. But then, because I had a block there. But then what happened was when I got with Andrew, he started cooking me breakfast every weekend. So that manifestation was meant for that previous boyfriend, but it showed up with this one. So, but if I didn't want it, I would just say, oh, okay, no, I decided I don't want breakfast cooked for me every weekend. So that doesn't happen anymore. So, I changed it. So these things are always ever flowing and you can constantly change them. Again, this is why it's so important that we always just focus on what we want and we discipline our minds and we become strong-willed to be able to focus, right? And to fight through that static, right? And the static I'm talking about, if you do a mental diet, when you first start things, sometimes it's static, sometimes because they're new neurons that we're creating. There's new pathways, right? And depending on how set in your old thinking you are, it can take a little bit of shifting because you're actually reconnecting things in your brain, right? Which is amazing just by your thoughts because we're energy, right? So thanks for helping out the last time. You're very welcome. By the way, to clear it up, the third party is not in my SP's band. Oh, okay. It's just that our friends decided to follow her on their band Instagram. And she probably thinks it's my SP that did it. So I've thought about relocating her and that she might just join some other artistic collective and elaborate hotspot for artists and to tour through. And I definitely don't need her to be so special for my SP. Well, she's not. To consider let's see here. Okay, consider traveling towards for a concert, towards leaving the door open. Business between them is a no for me. No. Sorry, I know I'm mumbling on this one. So basically, she's not in the band. I said that. I thought that was last time. But so the story with your third party is she's just going to move on. She's going to go find some other band and some other people, and somebody that's even better than her is going to come along, to help the band, but not, the thing is you can do anything you want with this story, right? So, if she's actually not in the band, well, then that's so easy to get rid of her. Like, bye-bye, see you later, like all good. So, and if there were, business dealings between them, just intend that they find someone else, like a guy, to do those business dealings with, right? She can't be the only one that does what she does. So, you could just intend someone different comes along. Do you get what I'm saying? So she doesn't deserve to be with my SP's life in any capacity. No. And you know what? She doesn't deserve, for you to think that you're not good enough. And she doesn't deserve, all this, she deserves for you to create that she moves on, and you deserve that. You're good enough to have that. And I intend that happens. And I intend that she does it and just out of the blue, and that you're completely surprised, right? I think that would be great. So I'm not sure to handle this with the third party. Okay. So my question is it possible to change another person's physical appearance? Yeah, absolutely. I haven't seen much of that mentioned. You can create anything you want as long as you believe it. Okay. So can you become 2 feet taller? Yeah. But do you believe it? Okay. You have to believe it as possible, and you can do it. Okay. So I remember I had the worst fingernails in the world. They were terrible. And I saw this woman and she had these gorgeous fingernails and they were real. And I looked at it and I said, I want my nails to look like that. And then sure enough, yeah, my nails, right now they're a little bit short, but they're absolutely gorgeous when they grow. In fact, I go to salons and everyone's like, oh my God, good nails. So do you believe that you can change it is the question. Do you believe that you can change their looks? Now, things manifest in many ways and may take the path of least resistance, right? So for instance, there's plastic surgery. So you can intend that so-and-so, nose looks better. And then all of a sudden, the universe in the back end happens and they have a nose job, right? Or, their nose just changes in your mind and how you see them. So it'll change in accordance to your beliefs and if you believe it's possible. And that's the same with everything, right? So for instance, I intend, that people can fly. And so do I believe that people are just going to like levitate off the ground? Absolutely not. I don't. I can't even, sure, anything's possible. But is that like a belief right now? If you were to say, oh, Amanda, I'm going to float, and be like, yeah, whatever. Okay. But then all of a sudden I see people in space floating, or I see some guy with like a jetpack, right? Or I see people on an airplane. I'm like, oh yeah, people fly. So, but those are the path of least resistance for me rather than levitating off the ground, right? So, you can change things that you don't believe, right? By creating that belief. How you create a belief is you persist in reaffirming that belief until you start to believe it, right? But everything will manifest within your belief system, okay? So yeah, somebody may say, I got 2 inches taller just by intending, and that will be true for them. Now, does that mean that you can create it? It depends. Do you believe that that's going to be possible, right? So I haven't seen that mentioned much. So there are some things I'd like to change in terms of size from my SPN mother, like changing her obesity to being physically fit. Oh yeah, absolutely. You just say, I intend that she starts taking care of her health and she becomes physically fit. Okay. And keep reaffirming that every time you think about her. Okay. And then even like, what else? What are you going to see, hear, and feel? Well, you're probably going to see her having salads. You're probably going to see her walking. She's probably going to call you and say, oh my goodness, there's this like awesome veggie spot. Do you want to go check out the veggies? The whole story? Okay. Not just she's going to be physically fit. Like, what are you going to see, hear, and feel with these people? Especially your mom being obese to physically fit. Like, that's a quick one. I've done it. I've lost a lot of weight recently. So you can even do it in yourself as well. So, or SP manhood to be a bit more to my liking and size. You're adorable. Ah! Yep. Intent. That is, it's you just keep intending and intend that it's possible and that you're going to see it and you're going to believe it. Okay. So yeah, you are so welcome. Denise misses you, I'm sure. Tell her you're doing great. So that's really awesome. So, with your third party, okay, she just needs to move on. You just got to get really clear on what the stories you want to start persisting in are. And don't change your story 20, 30, 50 times. Find out what works for you now, what's believable for you, and start persisting and focusing on that. That's going to be the most important thing here. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm just checking out the comments here. So, yeah. So, as far as changing the size of the manhood, I mean, this is a PG channel. I mean, but let's go with, any particular body part, right? Create the dimensions, like what are the size that you want, right? Or, use a reference of somebody else or something. Okay. For instance, let's go with your waist, right? You say, well, I intend to have size 14 waist or a size 12 waist or a size 0, right? So, go with the size, right? Though that's one way to do it, right? So you can do it any way that you want. It's just about focusing on what you want and, saying that you believe it to be true and that it's going to happen and that you believe your thoughts create, and to always, back up your intentions, especially with things like this, because you want to back up your intentions with that, because then it leaves no room to doubt. So, how can you doubt your intentions when you say, look, I believe my thoughts create? Because you can actually create feelings within yourself as well. So, if you want to start with, okay, I intend to be able to change, the size of people's body parts and maybe my own even, right? And you would go from there and focus on what you want to create. But then also, what, I know my thoughts create. I know I can change, the way people look or my height or whatever. You want to always add that in there just to kind of handle that doubt, right? So do the whole story. Whole story being, what do you want to see? How do you feel about it? Do you believe it? That sort of thing. Okay. So Lisa, hello. Hi, Amanda and your lovely team. Thank you for your content. I find it so soothing and helpful. I know, it's amazing. All the coaches are absolutely amazing. I mean, they're very successful. They know their stuff. So my question is, me and my specific person are in a long distance relationship. Since getting him back, things have been really beautiful. Oh, that's wonderful. That's when we are together. I mean, when I go home, I feel as though he shuts me out. I'm out of his sight and out of mind. It's like he just forgets about us until our time together again, which is something, sometimes a long time. How do I overcome this feeling of needing to hear from him? And how do I get him to call and text me just because, as attentive towards me, to get him to be as attentive towards me all the time? Okay, so basically, what we're looking at doing is we're going to need to stop making the lack of communication mean that, he forgets about you and shuts you out, because that's creating another layer of I'm not good enough and you're perfect, whole, and complete. Every single one of you guys are perfect, and every single one of you guys are good enough to have what you want right now. You're here, you have thoughts, you're a creator of your reality. Everything is for you if you just decide it's yours. So the first thing here is we're making his lack of communication mean that he shuts you out and he forgets about you, which feels terrible, I can imagine. So one thing that I do to spin this situation, okay, and this is what I did with Andrew and I've done with all my relationships, is I've got a stupid story that, guys aren't good at communicating as girls. So what I started doing was I just personally started, I made it not mean that I wasn't good enough. And then I started focusing on, even though, of changing my story that guys don't like texting, I turned, because that was the assumption I created, right? Instead of making it about me, right? That I'm not good enough, that I was being rejected. I said, no, I'm not being rejected. He's just really bad at texting and communicating. So then I use that. Now I don't feel bad. Now I feel perfect. Okay, now I need to fix that. So then I take it a step further and I say, no, I intend that he's great at communicating. In fact, he texts me more than my girlfriends do. In fact, he's like a girl. He just wants to chat constantly. And actually, Andrew does now. It's funny. One time I even had him, I intended that he would phone me for no reason. He phoned me and I'm like, hello. And he was like, yeah, hello. I'm like, what's up? He's like, oh, nothing. I just thought I'd phone you for no reason. I was like, okay. He's like, okay, bye. And I was like, okay, bye. How weird was that? But it was really surreal. But, once we drop the story of being ignored, forgotten about, not being made a priority, then we lose that negative feeling. And then when we're in that neutral state of, creating the assumption that it's just a guy thing, then we can start working on how he's different and who he wants to be. So let's start focusing on, let's change the story. I'm good enough. He always wants to text me, but you've got to stop the story that he's forgetting about you and not making you a priority when you're not there, because that's adding, like I said, a layer of, upset, resentment, anger, whatever to this. And we can't create our intentions from that platform because we're already sending out that force field of disappointment. So we have to get more of it back. Okay, so we've got to talk ourselves out of that feeling. Okay, so change your perception of the situation. Is he ignoring you and forgetting about you? Or is he just being, just not personal, just happens to not be a texter? And now you want to create, what are you going to see, hear, and feel? Okay, so what is he going to send you? Funny memes, funny jokes, he's going to call you for no reason. What are you guys going to talk about? Start throwing all of that in there. Also, as well, what he feels about you. Okay, so I know you're going to turn this around amazingly. Oh, thank you, Tarot Dreams. I am enjoying my day. It's actually really good today. It's a good day. Okay, back to another question. We've got Juliana's question. Okay, so Juliana's question. Hi, Amanda. So me and my SP are still on no contact. I intend that changes. It's been almost 4 months now. Honestly, I was a bit all over the place for a while, but got really better for the last month or so. Thing is, I am affirming for my self-concept and being worthy and good enough for receiving what I want. Okay. Oh. And then I've also been intending for him to text me, but I don't see any movement in the 3D. I know probably it's not there are tons of movement behind the scenes though. Okay, so start intending that you're seeing it though. Okay, I know, for instance, I was intending, I was like, oh yeah, I was talking about movement being behind the scenes, right? And I was intending and nothing was showing up. And I was like, what the heck? Sorry, just one sec. So I was intending away and nothing was happening. And then I remembered that I created that, things are happening behind the scenes. And that's why I wasn't seeing them. So then I was like, no, I intend to see them. I intend to see them now. And all of a sudden, and I was like, okay, that's better. So don't create that story. I mean, sure. Yeah, it's a great story to say, yeah, things are happening behind the scenes rather than this isn't happening. But now take it a step further. Things are happening now. Okay. So I think on some level, I still believe he's a bit stubborn and too proud to reach out. Okay. So I hate even writing this because I've been really good at affirming the new story. And I'm not even talking or thinking about the old one. Okay. So I get it. So we don't want to, go over the old story. One thing I will mention though about the old story is don't give the old story any power. Okay. Meaning like, oh, I can't repeat it. If I do it, it's going to come true. Okay. That's giving it power. Okay. Look at Andrew's mad at me. There you go. I said it. Do I want to create that? No. So I just say Andrew's happy with me and he loves me and he constantly worships the ground I walk on. Okay. So is he going to be mad at me? No, of course not, because I created that he loves me. And so don't give that negative statement any power. It's okay to tell your negative story. I mean, especially in a context of trying to get, any sort of explanation or to find your blocks or anything like that. Because let's be honest, okay, if your reality isn't changing, then, we need to revise that old story, and going over that old story is revising it. But don't give it so much power that it's, you can't recite it or say it or think it. You can go, remember when, Buddy never made me a priority, but now he does, right? So it's about the flow throughs, right? It's not finishing a thought, because remember, when you do your intentions and you do your thoughts, like I said earlier in the live, it's pretend you're talking to someone. Don't leave things on a negative, right? Always follow it up with a positive. So I'll go through an entire rant. Okay. So I'll start with, oh, you know what? Can you believe it? Blah, 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 right? Like, I can't believe that happened. Da, da, da. And then before I even finish, I'll go and I'll start with intentions. Okay. And then I'll end on a positive. So it's okay to do that as long as you're not stopping on the negative, right? And so, yeah. So the other thing about reaching out, and this is also for the previous question as well, is one thing that I did is I didn't stop reaching out. So this is for mostly to answer Lisa's. I just thought of this. Don't stop reaching out. Okay. When I was looking to get constant communication with Andrew, I just kept reaching out because I wanted to talk to him, okay, because I wasn't making his lack of replying mean I wasn't good enough, okay? So every time I just message him, I said, why didn't he make it a priority and message me back? And in fact, next time he's going to message me first. And then all of a sudden, you know what, throughout, it wasn't even that long, the week later, I forgot to text him one morning, and then he started texting me. So it's about giving with the intention of getting, okay? But if you're going to give with he's never going to message me back, well, then you're never going to get it, and you're setting yourself up for failure, okay? So back to this here. So I still believe that he's stubborn and too proud to reach out. I hate even writing this because I'm really good in affirming the new story and not talking or thinking about the old one. But the old one's still at play here, obviously. So, but what do you think after this long? Should I persist in my intention? We're in a loving relationship. He loves me deeply. He's always texting and calling me. Well, I would also put in that story that, you know what? He is, he's not stubborn and he's not too proud. In fact, you know what? He'll do anything to be with me. He'll worships the ground I walk on. More story about, revise why the communication isn't happening. So it's great to go all the way to marriage, but why isn't he texting you now? What's the story there? That story needs to be revised. And the reason why he's not texting you now has nothing to do with marrying you. So sure, you can intend that you guys are going to get married. That's great and all, but that's not going to change the communication. So we want to go to what's that story. So the story you said was that, he's stubborn and too proud to reach out. So let's start affirming what you want him to be. Okay. So he totally reaches out. He's never too proud to reach out. He's the least stubborn person, In fact, you know what? He totally will eat crow just to, he'd rather be with you than to be right and proud. He'll be a fool for you. Okay. So you want to start changing that story with him. Or maybe I should try something else. Yeah, I would, change up these intentions. Okay, take a look. Okay, just seriously be honest with yourself. Why isn't he calling you? Okay. And then once you get that list of stubborn and that sort of thing, change them to positive intentions and focus on that, and focus just on the communication. Okay, focus on what he feels about you as a person and why you're good enough for him to call you. Okay, so let's, loving relationship and loves you deeply is great and all, but there's something stopping him from contacting you. So let's work on revising that story. Okay. For instance, right. So years ago, there was this guy that I dated, and then I saw him in a pub and I was like on a date with another guy. Anyway, he was drunk and he was being very disrespectful to me and my date at the time. Yes, like a guy's chasing me. Like that's just how I create. So whatever. Anyway, I'm like the OG over here. Anyway, but anyway, he was very, and I know I created this too. I was like, oh, wouldn't it be funny? I thought to myself, and sure enough, it happened. So of course, but then I got upset and I basically told this guy, I was like, you know what? Stop it. Never call me again. Never talk to me. I can't believe you did this. Blah, 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 blah. Right. So anyway, and so that was fine. And then later on, I did actually want to get in contact with him again. So I was intending he would contact me. But I knew that I had basically gotten angry at him previously and told him never to contact me again. And my intention and my story was kind of like, no, I want him to. So then out of the blue, I just did my intentions and I texted him. And I was like, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, sorry about last time. I'm like, and he was like, oh, don't worry about it. He's like, oh, good. He's like, I'm so happy you reached out. I've been thinking about you. Okay. So, the question is, okay, we want people to text us first, but why? What's the motive? Is it because we're hurt and we need them to show us that they want to be with us? If we're coming from that platform, they're never going to text us first. Okay. If we're coming from oh yeah, you know what? There's no bad blood between us. They text us all the time. Then yeah, we're going to get those texts come through. So if you're not willing to put a text out there because you're scared of getting hurt, then you can't manifest it coming back in because you're scared of getting hurt. That fear is going to be a force field. Does that make sense? But revise the story of why the communication isn't happening. Also, his birthday will be next week. I think it's okay to reach out. I think it's great too. But from the platform of, he wants to talk to you and he's going to be happy, that you've reached out. Right. I'm a bit worried how he could react and if he replies with indifference or something. Okay. So again, there we go. We're worried about how he could react if he replies with indifference or something. So one thing that I always get worried about, is when people say go to the end. Okay. And sure. Okay. Let's go to the end of marriage. Okay. Let's go to the end that we want this, this text message of, oh, I love you. And oh, everything's great. But then we reach out because we weren't talking and we say happy birthday. And then all we get is a thanks. And then that's it. We didn't get this big, I love you and want to be with you text. Okay. So we had our expectation up at this, I love you text, but we were worried that he would be indifferent. And then we get that indifferent text because we're already at the end of marriage. And yet they're not even at the point in our reality of even messaging us. So when we create, okay, and this is because law of attraction is no different than just life. You've been doing this your whole life. Okay. So relationships now and relationships before, they're the same. It's just now you know how to intentionally, consciously create them. So it always goes in stages. The first stage is dating. Okay. So for instance, me and Andrew were dating. Okay. We were dating like once a week for like 1 or 2 months. Okay. We'd go out for dinner once a week. Now I was already thinking, yeah, I'd like to marry this guy, but chances are he was probably dating other girls because we just hooked up. In fact, I was dating other guys. So, and if he wasn't dating other girls in those like first month or something, I would be like, what's wrong with you? Like, why doesn't anyone want you? Like, you're not dating anyone else. Like, what's wrong with you? So, so that's because that's the context. We're not quite in a committed relationship. If I would have said, nope, that's it. I'm marrying this guy. We're dating and he better not be dating anyone else. And then I found out maybe he was, then I would be really mad and disappointed because I'm already acting like we're married, but yet we're not. So we don't want to resist our current reality by getting too far ahead of ourselves. Do you get what I'm saying? So let's focus on opening up the communication. Let's focus on, just expecting and being okay with what would come with a text between a couple friends that are interested in each other or crushes. Do you get what I'm saying? So don't set your expectations really high because if you're not willing to go, oh my God, I love you and I want to be with you forever. If you're not comfortable saying that to the person, chances are they're not going to say it back to you. Okay. So every step of the relationship that you create, you've got to be comfortable. I'll tell you, Andrew never said he loved me until I was comfortable with it and thinking it and comfortable saying it to him. Andrew wasn't ready to marry me until I was comfortable and ready to marry him. So it's not even about them. It's about you being comfortable to the point where you're like, yeah, Andrew's going to marry me. Okay. You've asked me 3 years ago if Andrew would marry me. I'd be like, I don't know. Now I'm like, oh yeah, he totally will because I've said it so much and I believe it. And it started to reflect back from him. Okay. So, but I can't be at that point expecting him to say it when I'm only at the start of it. I've got to wait for him to shift in my reality. If I am already living in the world of marriage when we're just dating and he's dating other people and not even committed to me yet, that's going to make me very angry and I'm going to be resisting my reality. But I need to take my reality for what it is and what I'm comfortable with, which is dating at that moment. Do you get what I'm saying? Does that make sense? So basically break your points down. So your end goal is marriage. Love it. Keep intending that, but also intend every step of the way. Okay. Because you're creating yourself being comfortable in the relationship and to be comfortable knowing them because you create them. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. You guys are amazing. I really love it. This is great. You know, I've been doing the lives, but I record them, then I post them later. My bad. But this one I did live. So that is absolutely amazing. Yeah, guys. So yeah, I guess the main thing, you know, is to always make everything in your reality mean you're going to get what you want. Always make everything in your reality mean it's a sign that you're going to get there, you know, and talk yourself out of those negative feelings that you have, right? And don't question this. You've done this your whole entire life. The only thing that you possibly need to do is to focus on what you want. If you want to make something happen faster, then focus more on it, okay? Especially if you have resistance or blocks, okay? Focus more on it. Really put your energy to it, okay? And always leave it on a positive, okay? Never leave it on a negative. I'm telling you. Napoleon Hill said it, you know, Think and Grow Rich. He said it in his, and it always stuck with me. He said, always finish a thought. Okay. And what he meant by that, he explains, is that, you know, you may have a negative thought, but then finish it with the positive. So yeah, the negative thought is what you don't want. Now, what do you want? And then you end it there. Okay. And I'm telling you, that'll change your life because things will start showing up in your reality. Okay, that you're just like, oh my goodness, like, wow, that did show up, right? And, you know, then you get on this little roll and do it for every little thing. I'm telling you, it's so much fun. We got time for one more question. Farah's question. Farah, you got a question. What do you recommend for a situation with a job recruiter who won't respond to my emails? I keep intending and no movement, persisting the best I can. So what I would do, right, is I would create more everyone is you pushed out. I would say, look, I intend to see how everyone is me pushed out. I intend to have evidence of that every minute of the day. I intend to see how my thoughts create and then go out and create those lists of little things that people saying and doing things that demonstrate everyone is you pushed out. And once you get those little confirmations and you get that feeling of when you've manifested something and you guys know that feeling, then at that moment you look at that email and you say, he's going to message me back and he's going to message me back right now. Another thing you may want to do is you may want to actually send yourself an email written by them saying what you want to hear or scripting it out. You know, you want to focus on that. But what I would suggest for you, I just got this huge feeling is, you know what? Like get the spark back. Okay. I was trying to create something and I thought it was hopeless. And then I started remembering all the other times that I've created what I was looking to create. I started thinking back on all the other times that I had that moment of, wow, everyone is me pushed out and got that magic back. And once I had that feeling back, I went hard on what I wanted to intend that wasn't moving for me. And then it completely started to move and started to manifest. Okay. So guys, when you're feeling stuck, get back into, I feel like a powerful creator. Get yourself back there. That's the most important thing. Get yourself back into the zone that I create. Okay. Now that's only when you got resistance. If you don't have resistance and you're just plain old happy and life just works out for you, well then, you know what? Keep on that. You're already in the zone, right? Yeah. Yeah. You can intend in future tense. It doesn't matter. Your brain knows no sense of time. Again, your subconscious mind knows no time. So you can say, well, you know what, I'm going to the store or I'm at the store. You still picture the store, right? So yeah, it doesn't matter what tense you do it in. It doesn't put it into the future. I intend is present tense, intending is future tense, but really it doesn't matter. I've had both show up because again, your subconscious mind doesn't hear negatives. Okay. So always focus on what you want, not what you don't want. And then your brain has no concept of time. Time's a construct that we use in our 3D reality, but our subconscious mind doesn't know it. In fact, you know what? There was someone said, it's like, why doesn't everything manifest at once, right? And it was like, it was like, because, you know, if everything manifested at once, it would happen at once. So, you know, that's why it kind of gets a little bit spaced out, you know. I mean, could you be kidding if I was like, I've intended taggers, right? Imagine a tagger boom, right in my living room. Like, oh my God, no. Well, guys, this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you, Jessica. You are amazing. And guys, thank you for joining the live. I know it was a lot. I've talked for an hour. Wow. Thank you. Oh, you guys are the best. You know what? I thank you guys. You guys have made all this possible. You know, we've changed so many lives, and you know, we've seen so many comments that just absolutely, you know, bring me to tears of joy, you know, of how, you know, just by watching. And that's really what we set out to do. So, thanks. I intend that all of you guys get all of your dreams, because there's an abundance and there's enough for everybody to go around. So awesome, guys. We'll see you in. I'm glad you're feeling hyped. I'm feeling hyped too. I'm like, yes. Anyways, okay, we'll see you guys in the next YouTube live, which is in a month from now. So if you would like to ask me a question, the Patreon link is in the description below. Okay, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.